Hey guys, Trevor Holt here. Welcome to another Who Are We podcast. This is a series just dedicated into just talking to people and trying to establish different perspectives and different views and different identities around the planet, and just trying to help understand who different people are, and hopefully that can give us some motivation into looking at ourselves and trying to discover who we are, which hopefully can have some great outcomes in society as a whole. So today I have a special guest with me, Peter. Hey, Peter, thanks for joining us today.
That's right. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good. Just before we get going, I'll just do a bit of a disclaimer. This session's been recorded. We're going to upload it to a YouTube channel and post a few promo clips on LinkedIn or whatever, just to try and create a bit of exposure for things. Basically, the idea is just to hopefully help individuals discover their own identity and who they are, and hopefully by doing this will create better outcomes in society as a whole. So again, thanks for joining us. We'll just get stuck straight into it. Who is Peter, and what does it stand for?
So I'm originally from the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands you pronounce my name as Peter, so it's Peter Dijkema. So I came to Australia about 23 years ago, and basically what I do is I help men finding what they really want to achieve in life, and a lot of men that are let's say 30 to 50s, they have gone through life, and they just trudge along, but at a point they often come to a point where something might happen in their life, and they think, I want something more out of life than what I've got right now, and I help them with that. A little bit about myself. I've got 3 kids. I've been separated for a while. What else? I live in Melbourne. I'm a mad soccer fan, so I play soccer myself, indoor and outdoor. I'm not going to stop until I actually have played an outdoor game with my son. So I'm 54 now, so I still probably have a year to go, but it's going to happen at some stage.
Yeah, that's great, and thanks for sharing that. So I'm hearing a lot that you like helping men in particular between probably, would you consider that mid-age sort of crisis? I suppose, nearly age group, you think?
People are talking about quarter life crisis now, even that's with a lot of the younger people. They go and study, and then they work for a couple of years and say, I've done all this study, but this is not what I want to do. But I generally go a little bit older when they're starting to have kids, generally, or when they think, I've put all my effort in my career, and apart from money, what do I have right now? Because you can't take money with you when you die, so there's no point in accumulating money for no reason.
Yeah, and you think that's probably the biggest factor that you're helping them with, is developing their social and their relationships and their communication skills, and generally participating in society more? Is that generally what you think?
So what I generally do when I work with men, and in particular, is helping them to create some awareness of themselves and of others around them, and how they relate to themselves, in a sense. A lot of people, they don't even think about what their relationship with particular ways of life is. So when they get emotional about something or angry, they always look outward, and they look at why does this person do this to me? But what I try to do is help them look at themselves first and say, why do you actually get angry? Why do you get upset when somebody says something to you? Is it necessary in the first place? Is it justified? And what do you get out of it? Does it serve you in the end to get angry at your child, for example, when they haven't made their bed or whatever. What's the purpose of it? Of making the bed? If that's what needs to be done because that's always been the way, or you've been taught that, then maybe you have to decide if that's what you want as well, and what the purpose of that is.
So just exploring, I suppose. It seems to me that circle of influence is always internal, isn't it? Because you can't control other people's actions or behaviours or thought patterns or words, but you can control yourself and how you react to them, I suppose. Is that something that you're very, very familiar with?
No, exactly, and especially with reacting versus responding. So I always say responsible is response able. So you are able to respond when something happens, instead of that you basically react to a situation. So a perfect example is when how long ago was that? It's probably 18 years ago. I was a victim of a road rage incident, and I thought afterwards, what happened here? And there was something very minor. I overtook somebody, they didn't like it, and then they basically almost drove me off the road. And then I thought, what is happening here? So then a couple of years later, a guy pulled up next to me, and I just had a look, and he completely flipped. Because something must have happened in his life that I'm not aware of, I'm not privy of. So then there are two ways to respond to that. Then go hard against it, or just think, okay, so I don't know what's happening in this person's life. Let him be, and don't get angry about it, because it's not personal. It's not towards you. It's something inside that other person that makes that happen. And way I went on my continuing my day instead of getting worked up about somebody who had a bad day himself.
And I think it's very easy. It's very easy for men in particular, and I'm not sure, but for men I can speak of, it's very easy to take things personally when someone's getting cranky at you or something that you've done. It's very easy to take that on board and say, well, maybe, and then that perspective out, and that's how. Excuse me, and that's how sometimes some violent situations can occur. But like you say, just trying to, it sounds like you're just trying to acknowledge other people's behaviour as theirs. It's got nothing to do with you. And it's easier said than done, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And so what I help people with is then, okay, first you need to be aware of that actually is happening. And then second of all, how do you manage that? How do you manage your emotions? How do you look at not only your emotions, but also how do you look at what you want to achieve out of life? What do you have control over, in a sense? And what's stopping you from getting where you want to be? And then give them some tools to basically be more effective as a person in their communication, their relationships, in their work. It all depends on what they are at that moment they're struggling with, but I can help them being more effective in those different areas. And it's I'm not perfect myself, so I have to work on myself as well. And one thing that I often do is I go to a men's circle, so it's a group of men that come together and share their stories, in a sense. And I find that really helpful as well, especially when I went through a separation, is to have other men to talk about, because men often don't talk to each other about the things that really are to the core of themselves. And that's probably why I think it's about 2,500 men a year commit suicide. So that's a lot of men. Is I think 7 or 8 men a day. And if they could just talk to other men around them instead of saying, just man up, or come, let's grab a beer at the pub, and then you're at the pub and they talk about footy and cricket and things like that. But what really goes on in their lives, that gets never exposed.
Drink a spoon of concrete and harden the fuck up or whatever, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I feel what you're saying is quite true in the fact that men do struggle to talk about these things, and your suicide numbers, they're tragic. Tragic in Australia, all up, like you say, up to 10 people per day do die by suicide, which is tragic and leaves thousands of people filled with trauma. But the other thing I'd just like to acknowledge too is that it's fairly equal top number, and I don't really like to bring gender into some of these discussions based on that number that you put 7 or 8 out of 10, because when you dig a bit deeper, it is about 50% of men and women attempt suicide. It's just that men are more lethal. So even attempts at life, obviously there's something wrong, and things need to be addressed there. So but
that is a good point.
So in general, I think there's massive works need to be done everywhere, and I agree that men talk about it, and it is a taboo subject for us because it's a sign of weakness, and we don't like to be vulnerable, do we?
Yeah, no, exactly. And recently I went to a funeral of a man who committed suicide, and obviously he had some issues that he couldn't reconcile with. But he had, I think there were over 1,000 people at the funeral. So then you think, okay, now, so there's 1,000 people that you have touched, and you didn't feel that you could actually talk to any of them about your struggles. And that's what you say. It's a little bit of a taboo. So that's it's really sad that it happened. So I really want to encourage all men to be more open, and that's why I like Are You Okay Day. It's a fourth way of asking the question, and even if 5% of men then actually open up, that's 5% less men that are struggling.
Yeah, and it's ongoing. I think I heard you mention it too, and I find the same. That you can't just fix this. There's no magic button that you can press to make your life okay. No. It's an ongoing thing forever, isn't it? Continuous improvement and working on yourself.
Yes. Yeah, and just instead of using that one day a year to do it, make it a habit. And so when you're speaking to a mate, just say, how are you going? And then ask the question when they say, I'm fine. Now, how are you really going?
What's really going on?
Yeah.
Is that something that you're doing for a living? Is it?
So I do a couple of different things. So I run a small IT business. I work for another IT business as well. But my main focus and my passion is coaching. So I'm doing some not-for-profit leadership coaching and men's coaching, and I do also facilitate. I train people around. I just did a training course, assertiveness and self-confidence for leaders, just general leaders in organizations, and I love doing that because it brings people closer to themselves when you are in those training sessions. Because certainly there might be a light bulb moment and they say, I've never thought about it that way, but that's interesting. And some people open up, and other ones they close themselves off. So it's quite interesting to see in those training sessions how some people really dig deep, and other ones they won't show themselves because they are afraid to be vulnerable. And I think vulnerability is a superpower. Because if you can be vulnerable, show your real you, then that will make you a lot more effective in communicating with others, because it's reciprocity in a sense. If you are vulnerable, most other people will give you the gift back in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, and it's good to hear, like, even this conversations, these sort of things on these podcasts. It's good to hear other people's perspectives in that, and it takes so many different personalities or so many different people, and everyone's individual in the world to make the world. And if everyone thought and behaved the same, then the world would be a pretty boring place.
No, exactly. And that's why I never liked the word normal. When it's oh, that's not normal. Does it need to be normal? If everybody is normal, then you get that 1984 type of society where everybody is the same.
Yeah. And so I heard a lot about curiosity. It seems to be an ongoing theme here, and you sort of talked about it a bit too. But I had a few high-end trainers for, like, sporting, high performance trainers for sporting codes and events talk about having a sort of curiosity in their coaching style, and not really dictating, or not really giving direction, but more having a curiosity and discovering where some of the thought patterns are coming from, and helping other people understand where they're coming from, so they're better informed about themselves to be able to understand it. It sounds like curiosity is something that's important to you and your coaching style.
Definitely. So I believe that that coaching is basically helping other people discover themselves, and basically the idea is that everybody has the resources to answer the questions they've got themselves. It's just helping them with asking the right questions to expose that and help them get there. That's my view on it. And obviously, pure coaching, you actually don't give advice or tell them what you would do, because that's not coaching. That's mentoring or consulting, whatever you want to call it. But there's always a blend of it to make a coaching session effective. I also do soccer coaching, so I coach kids soccer, and even in that, if you make them do something, then they might follow your instructions. But when you walk away, then they might go back to what they were doing before. And a good example is my daughter played basketball for a while, and the coach would give them exact instructions what to do all the time. So then it worked quite well. But if there was a situation where something didn't go according to plan, the first thing the girls did was look at the coach. So what do we do now? And sometimes mid play, they would actually turn around and look at him. And I thought, that's not what it's supposed to be. To me, coaching is basically helping people develop. In this case, kids develop their skills, their insight in the game, so that they can actually play. So my coaching style in that sense, even with coaching kids soccer, was coach them during the week and before the game. And during the game, I would hardly say anything, because it's up to them. They need to make the decisions. And then during halftime, you have a chat. So, okay, so what went well? What didn't go well? What do we need to change? And there was one kid in the team. He would stand up, an 11-year-old, and he would talk like Pep Guardiola, like he was the coach of Manchester City, and all the kids were just listening to him. And I love that when those things happen, because it's basically empowering the individuals themselves to grow. And
it seems to me like you do a good job when you become superseded.
Yes, yeah. So I would say no. Let's say if you it's a little bit a taboo around mental health as well. But no, when I went through a separation, I went to a psychologist, and so I went a couple of sessions, and then at some stage he said to me, "Yeah, I love talking to you, Peter, but I don't think you have to come back anymore." And
Yeah.
then you know you have done a good job. And if so there are two ways that it can happen. Is one is that somebody doesn't come back because they don't think you add value to them, or the other one is, oh no, I've got everything I need at the moment, so I don't need it right now. But one thing that I think is really important as well is to when you've got a car, you take it to a mechanic every 6 or 12 months, just to check things over. Nothing might be wrong, but you just check things over. You say, okay, no, we need to change the oil filter, change the oil, and off you go. Now, or they say, your brakes are a little bit squeaky. We might have to do something around that. So bring it back in, and we'll fix it for you. So I look at it a little bit like with coaching and with psychologists or psychotherapists as well. If you check in once a year or whatever, then there might not be nothing that needs to be done, but it's good to just have a health check in a sense. And that's how with normal health, a lot of times when people have a general health check, they find things that they would never have found otherwise at that stage. And let's say if it's prostate cancer or something, if you find it in the early stages, it's you can treat it really well. If it's later on, it might be it might be lethal in a sense. So I think that's with a lot of things, and especially with mental health, with your looking at yourself, self-awareness. I think it's great if you can just check in at least every year. And if you've got something specific, then let's say if you need to, you've done something with your shoulder, you go to the physio for 5 sessions, and they help you fix yourself. But you have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to do the exercise in between, because just going doesn't help.
And it's always interesting, isn't it? Because when something's wrong, we go and seek help. But nearly everything, I haven't really come up with an exception, but prevention is normally better than treatment. You know what I mean? So just being able to, like you say, touch base every now and again and have a talk and just touch base. Could be like a preventative sort of measure, isn't it?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a professional. So like I said before, I go to a men's circle, and then you can talk about things as well. You hear other guys talking about stuff, and then you say, I've been in the same situation. I've never looked at it that way. And it helps as well to basically be a little bit more grounded in a sense, and have a good hard look at yourself as well. And that not everything that you see about yourself is through rose-petaled glasses. And that sometimes you have to take some responsibility yourself. And that's something I've tried to teach my kids as well, to take responsibility of their own actions instead of blaming other people for things. And my oldest son, he would always used to blame everybody else. And then I was driving with him a couple of months ago, and he said, we got a little bit of an argument because he had told me he was going to do something. He didn't do it. I said, you really need to do that. And he fired up. And then we got in the car, and he said, sorry about just then. I was a little bit tired. I didn't have enough sleep last night, and I didn't have my emotions under control. Then I almost get tears in my eyes when he says that, because then I think, I've done a good job at raising him in that sense, because he takes responsibility for his actions, And sometimes you do things that you don't want to do, but the easy way is to then hide and just push them away like they've never happened, or you can just take responsibility. And then that is fantastic for relationships, I think, if you can do that.
Yeah, own it. Own any errors. Yeah, the other thing, just quickly, I know we're running out of time, but the other thing, just quickly, is you touched on just acknowledging your feelings and your behaviours, similar to what your story with your son there. It does take a lot of courage to do that, like, because I don't know, there's something in society that tells us not to be vulnerable and not to take ownership on these things. I don't know what it is, but it is a difficult. It's something that you have to work on, isn't it?
Yeah, and like you say, it's in society. It's basically you have to, as a man, you have to man up. You have to be strong, not show vulnerability. But why? We don't live in the ages where you had to hunt for deer or whatever to actually get food or protect yourself against bears or lions or whatever. So manning up is a little bit different right now. To me, manning up is actually showing emotion and showing vulnerability and saying, I'm not all right. Can you help me? Reaching out for help. That's courage to me, because it's something that people are generally fearful of or are afraid of. So if you can do that, then I think that's courageous.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And thanks for sharing such valuable insight today.
Thank you.
I think it's been great. No, is people free to reach out to you? Do you do Zoom meetings or just service people in your local area there, or do you want to?
I do Zoom meetings. I do Zoom meetings face to face. I run a program for separated fathers as well, because a lot of fathers they struggle through separation, because a lot of women generally have a lot of support from women, but men have that a lot less in general. So I run that as well. If they want to reach out, I've got a website. It's sisu.com.au. So it's sisu.com.au. Or on LinkedIn, they can reach out to me as well. Just Peter Dijkema, and it's Dijkema. And then there's a booking link to book a call, and you can just have a 15-minute call with me and talk about what somebody's struggling with, and see if I can help them. And if I can't help them, I might be able to refer them to somebody else.
They can, Thank you very much for joining us today and sharing your insight. And hopefully, if people need to have a chat, they'll reach out and hopefully, these patterns of behaviour can be changed and society can be a better place in the future.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Trevor, for having me.
No worries. Thank you. See you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.